Hi, and welcome to this presentation on technology boundaries. This was a presentation originally done by a fantastic Missouri educator here in the St. Louis area, Rob Jacklin. You can find him on Twitter at rjacklin. And he did this presentation at the Missouri Professional Church Workers Conference back in November of 2014. Now, this is a very interesting presentation because it takes a look at the idea of where do we stand with the use of technology, how do we use it, and how is it shaping our interactions or afflicting our relationships. So the very first question I have for you is, what is a boundary? A boundary could be anything. Most commonly for us adults, we use boundaries as kind of road lines. So you see the solid yellow line down the road, and that means you don't go over into the next lane. That's a boundary. But it could also be something more like, where do you draw the line on certain issues? Or a good representation of that is a line in the sand. So let's take a look at that. So before we really get into the whole boundaries of technology, let's kind of have our perspective set. So as Rob said, is we need to ask some good questions. How is technology affecting our relationships with people? How is it affecting ourselves? Different things like that. So you can say it's a question party, my favorite, which is a good thing or a good perspective to have when it comes in terms of technology and how we use it and how we address it, is that we need to be excited for these questions and not be afraid to ask tough questions in regards to technology usage. Now, the very first parable is Matthew 25:14-30, or the parable of the talents. Now, to just briefly summarize it, Jesus tells a story of a master who gives his 3 servants talents, and 2 of them go out and they invest the talent, and they, make more money and bring it back, and the master is pleased. And then the last servant, he goes out because he's really worried about his master, and he hides the talent, he buries it, and then goes and digs it up and brings it back, expecting his master to be happy that he didn't waste the talent. So that's a parable, just very quickly summarized. And I think this is a great parable to look at in regards of technology. Technology is this incredibly awesome tool that we have, that we use on a daily basis. And the question is, are we using it to its fullest extent? Are we using it to its best extent? And I think Rob in his presentation did a great job of presenting it like this. If Johannes Gutenberg, when he developed the printing press and he knew it was going to be used for things like pornography, do you think he would have kept the printing press around? Probably not. But instead, he took the printing press, he took something that could potentially be used for evil, and instead he applied it in the best way possible, and he printed the Bible. So now people had access to the Bible. And that's how we can look at technology too. Sure, it has some bad things, and maybe you're thinking, hey, let's just not use technology, let's just bury it. But that's not really using our gift given to us by God in regards to technology. We should be using technology to help spread the word, because it's an incredible tool that connects us to everyone in the entire world. So why not take advantage of that? The next story I have for you is from Acts 17:16-23. And I will just go ahead and read that because it is a lesser known story, I think. So while Paul was waiting for them in Athens, he was greatly distressed to see that the city was full of idols. So he reasoned in the synagogue with both Jews and God-fearing Greeks, as well as in the marketplace, day by day with those who happened to be there. A group of Epicurean and Stoic philosophers began to debate with them. Some of them asked, "What is this babbler trying to say?" Others remarked, "He seems to be advocating for foreign gods." They said this because Paul was preaching the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. Then they took him and brought him to the meeting of the Areopagus, where they said to him, "May we know what this new teaching is that you are presenting? You are bringing some strange ideas to our ears, and we would like to know what they mean. All the Athenians and the foreigners who lived there spent their time doing nothing but talking about and listening to the latest ideas." So to kind of put that in perspective, there's a single place where all these great philosophers would come and they would talk about the latest and greatest ideas. And when we look at that, that sounds like a very rudimentary form of the internet. Everyone's getting together. Sometimes they're talking about cats. Sometimes they're talking about, landing putting a lander on comets, things like that. And this is what Paul says to them. Paul then stood up in the meeting of the Areopagus and said, "People of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, 'To an unknown God.' So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship, and this is what I am going to proclaim to you." So I think that is fascinating, because if Paul hadn't taken the time to take a stroll to learn about Athens, learn about the people of Athens, their culture, and things like that, he would never have been able to see that stone to an unknown God. So he used that culture to connect with the people, to make a point. And I think that's how we can look at technology too, is we can use technology as a way to connect with people and then make a point and go further from there and create deeper, lasting relationships. Because Paul was able to go in there and say, "You have this statue to an unknown God, and you're telling me my ideas are crazy? No, no, no." So I think we need to look at technology the way Paul looked at the Athenians, and observe it, gather it in, and then use it to our benefit. One of the big things with technology boundaries is prioritizing relationships over your connections. Now, we know connections as being like all 800 followers you have on Facebook to all 2,000 followers you have on Twitter. Those are connections, but are they actually relationships? Do you know that person on a deeper level? So I really like this image on the bottom left-hand corner. You have a single person who spreads out to 4 people, who spreads out to 3 people, and then 3 people from there. So I think that shows a great way of relationships and connections, because your relationships extend you into new connections, and that of course expands your sphere, or if you would like to take another term, your sphere of influence, because now you're influencing others who can influence others. So why not use those relationships you create to create positive, meaningful, lasting relationships? I also like this middle image of the kind of bar graph with the squiggly line, because I think that also is a good understanding of how we need to approach technology. What are our boundaries in terms of if we're in a meeting? What are our boundaries when we are at home? What are our boundaries when we're with our families? It's an ever-changing line, and sometimes it's not practical to draw a single straight line, but instead have a really crunched up graph. And that's where our boundaries come in. So here are some helpful tips. Be in control of your phone. Don't let it control you. I'm sure you all know of Pavlovian responses. Pavlov rang a bell to train the dogs to come. He'd feed them meat, and then he'd ring the bell and see if they'd come to him. So that's a Pavlovian response, and we are actually slaves to our phone. How many times have you ever heard a notification go off and you immediately check your phone by slapping your side or something like that? One thing is, be courteous to others. Silence or turn off your cell phones. There are appropriate times to have your cell phone out or have it on, but one of those is not church, it's not school, it's not in a meeting. So silence or turn off your cell phones. Please avoid talking about personal information in public settings. That includes blogs or anything online where we can read about it, because that should be between you and someone else. And going off of that, we need to make sure that we are not broadcasting that personal information, because that personal information can be shared with anyone. So even broadcasting personal information over text message is a bad idea, because that can be copy and pasted or even forwarded to someone else. And don't be on your phone at dinner, gatherings, in class, in a meeting. Essentially, just don't be rude about it. Don't talk loud. If you're supposed to be in a meeting, be in the meeting. Don't be on your phone. So with social media, I like this chart. This was on Rob's presentation. Where should you actually post? Do you want people to actually see it? Yes, then go through the entire list. No, go ahead, put it on Google+. Google+ is a great forum and community, but let's just be honest, no one uses it. But I think it is interesting if there's a difference between, is it business or is it personal? And is it awkward to you, your parents, someone else, even yourself, or in this case, someone in a hierarchy structure, your boss? Is it boring? put it on LinkedIn. And then finally, if you are addicted to those likes and getting comments from people, Facebook is the place. Otherwise, Twitter is a great place just to do some shout outs of new information. So let's make a plan. Rob showed this very interesting game of can we multitask. One of the big problems we think with technology is that we can just quickly look at our phone, check a text message, check the news, and then come back to where we are. But studies show that we can't actually multitask. We have to focus on one thing at a time. So when we look at our phone, we're now focusing on our phone and we're missing out on something else. Well, that could be in a meeting or something even more serious. You're looking at your phone more often than your family. You're missing out on those incredible developments and connections that you can even make with your family. So he has this great game that I'll quickly show you. And basically it's a multitasker game, and it's to show kids primarily the idea that you can't multitask. So we'll wait for after this message. We'll go back here. So I think what's very important is we need to develop an actual plan for us to use. And that plan can be, anything to as let's have a specific time when we look at our cell phone to, just let's keep it off. Let's make sure our heads are up and not on the screen. So we should be here. So I think this is interesting. It starts out with the idea that, you got to keep this ball up here. Oh, and you have to keep it on there for 15 seconds. And, it seems pretty easy, but soon the, soon the screen will split and I'll have to start using another key. And then from there, so you can see, now I have to go up and down while keeping it balanced left and right. But really what happens is you're not multitasking, you're just switching your attention from one thing to the other. So as this hits 30, we're going to hit a new time. Should be 35. We're coming up here soon. Okay, there we go. So now I have to use my WASD key and prevent it from there, and I have to go. So if you watch, hey! Oh, no. Ah! And you can see I messed up because I was focusing on too many things at once. But I got a score of 53, so that's great. So if we go back, just here's a general idea of what a boundary plan would look like. So now that we can see our boundary plan here's mine, for instance. I'm going to leave my cell phone on silent mode all weekend long for Thanksgiving or any holiday, or just weekends in general. I don't need to be checking that. I need to be having new experiences. Only check my phone for news when no one is around. So if someone's in a room with me, I should not be on my cell phone for anything. I'm not checking Facebook, Twitter, any news site, BBC, Fox News, CNN. Instead, I need to be talking to them and making that connection and that relationship, because talking face-to-face is far more important than a screen. If I'm going to take a call, I'm going to do it in private. So I'll take all my calls outside this Thanksgiving. I'll just step out, say, hey, I need to take this call, and then come back when I'm finished. I'm going to turn off my email for all of the holiday. So Thanksgiving, no email, no one can reach me there. Christmas, no email. And I think that's very good for me because I am addicted to my email. My phone goes off, my little light's beeping, and then I start getting the idea of, oh gosh, I need to check it. I have to check it. It's almost like a strange addiction for me. A good one, I don't do it anyways, but no texting while driving. It's just a good boundary to have. That's never going to happen. And then finally, I'm not going to check for updates when I'm with people. So if someone's in the room with me again, I'm not going to be looking at Facebook. I'm going to be looking at them, talking to them. Hopefully you found this presentation on technology boundaries helpful. If you have any questions, please email me at wvan@emmanuelstcharles.net. That's IMMANUEL St. Charles STCHARLES.net. Have a great day.